Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Intellectual stew.
informative and inspirational. How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual stew.
What's up? It's once more again, time for the Intellectual Stew with James Kirkland, where we are not sipping tea, but instead we are serving stew. We're trying to serve something that's wholesome. Some of that food, Jay, you remember when, I was talking about this the other day, you remember when you were younger, grandmama would give you beans and cornbread for a reason?
Right.
You know what that was, right? They wanted something that stuck to your bones to keep you out of her kitchen after 6, 7 o'clock at night. You're like, we didn't make it on ramen noodles. I said that the other night. Well, we didn't make it on ramen noodles and all this other stuff that don't stick to your bones.
Right.
And I think that's what our society has done. They've been making it on snacks for so long, and now we don't. A lot of people in our society really don't have substance. Disco, put that phone number on the screen for me if you would, please, sir. I think I know it by heart now, though. If you are listening, by way of Facebook, go to DISCO100 Radio and subscribe. And that way you can get all of the notifications. Make sure when you go to DISCO100 Radio, go there, subscribe. You'll get all of the notifications. If something is said during the course of the conversation and you feel like you want to chime in, the phone number is 678-638-6626. 678-638-6626, and you can call in and chime in on the conversation. I have my homeboy from the home state, the natural state, Woo Pig Suey, Arkansas. He's here with us. What's up, Jay?
Yo, what's up, man?
Man, I'm glad to have you back tonight. You ready to talk and see what we can what bones we can pick tonight?
Let's go.
We think we can make somebody mad?
I'm sure I will.
I don't want to, Jay. I want to empower them, if that's okay. I want to empower them. So we're going to continue the conversation. It's really a conversation that I kind of started on last week, and I asked this question on Facebook the other night, and I got a lot of responses as it relates to that particular question. And I wanted to come in tonight, and I'm going to ask you first, Jay, to start this question off, and I'm going to just throw it out there up front and see what your thoughts are on it, because, we haven't talked about this up front. So I'm going to ask you, who do you think the prize is in relationships?
Wow.
Might as well go ahead and get it started fast if we're going to do it.
Right. So, I have a few ways I look at it. And to be honest with you, I look at it 2 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at it from perspective of intrinsic value.
You're using SAT words. You're going to have to explain that to them. Okay.
Or extrinsic value.
Okay.
All right. So intrinsic value is the value you place on yourself. So it's not really based on the market or fair market value. All right. It's not based on numbers, data, anything like that. It's based on the value you give yourself. And then extrinsic value is the value that is based on data, the market, and that type of thing.
Okay.
All right. So for me, I just want to start off by saying to say that you are the prize, it means that the other side of the coin or the male may not be the prize if you feel like you're the prize and you're the woman. All right. And so for me, I feel that each side has value. And so I think we should treat it as such. I don't think you can have a successful marriage unless each side is treated with equal value. All right. And we both bring something very valuable to the table. But in our culture, we've been taught that women are the prize.
That's where I want you to go to our culture.
All right. In our culture, we've been taught that women are the prize. And it starts really, really young. I remember it said that, they used to tell us girls are sugar and spice.
Everything nice.
And boys are puppy dog tails. Snips and snails, puppy dog tails. And we've been pretty much programmed that women are the prize. And by the same token, we've pretty much demeaned young boys growing up. All right. When it came to just simple, I remember growing up playing on the playground at school and chasing the girl. She fall down. You didn't even push her, but the fact that you was chasing her and she fell, she crying, you get in trouble. I get home, I get a whooping. I remember in the 5th grade, Tamika Davis punched me in the eye, a full-fledged punch. And I go to the teacher crying. And they just told me to stop being a sissy. You know what I mean? You need to get tough and that type of thing.
Gotcha.
And so what happens is I think a lot of times, like I said, when it comes to the intrinsic value, man, we have placed value and we've given value to women as being the prize. And I see why that is. Women are very beautiful. Whatever you give a woman, she multiplies it.
No doubt.
And that type of thing. Women, they have a very vital role in society. Every culture that is a transcending culture, they actually boost their women, and so I get it.
Well, let's approach it from this standpoint, because you said something that I thought was very true. You said culture, the culture that we live in has portrayed the female as the prize. Now, let's talk about the culture, okay? We've talked in the past about how the natures have been reversed between the male and the female.
Right.
We've talked about how society has gone on record to emasculate African-American men. And we've talked about a morphed man and a morphed woman, not the mamas and grandmamas that we knew coming up,
right,
but what they've become and what the men have become as well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So looking at that, you sent me a video earlier this week, and talking about the prize. You sent me a video, and in that video, it showed it was an interview that took place, and they interviewed. It sounded like it was up in New York or somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere like that, and they interviewed a lot of teen mothers. And Disco, cue that video up for me, because I thought it was super interesting, the responses from the women in the video, because it shows that marriage is wasn't even on their minds. Go ahead and cue that up for me, Disco.
Married. Raise your hand if you would like to be married to your baby's father. 1. The rest of you who don't plan to get married, why don't you plan to get married? I'd like to know that.
You already have your child to think about, and then a whole family to care for. It's a lot of responsibility, and then you don't want the commitments.
I wouldn't want no man holding me down, because I think I can make it as a single parent.
But don't you think you might need help in raising that baby from a man?
Not really. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't in the home, so it really, male figures are not substantially important in the family.
Thinking about holding no father, no sex, my man.
All right, Jay, do me a favor, narrate for them what just took place in that video that we just showed.
Well, basically, they asked a few young mothers about, father. They needed a father or a man in the house to raise a child, and most of them unanimously said no. They did not need a father in the house to raise a child. For me, y'all know how I feel about balanced homes. I think we both need the mother and the father.
But we got to unpack the answers.
Right.
Because when he asked one woman, basically what was she considering getting married or whatnot, and she said, "Nah, I already got to take care of the baby. I don't want to have to take care of him too.
Right.
I don't want to
Right.
have to. I don't want to the commitment of having to take care of a family and all that kind of stuff. It's enough to take a baby."
Right.
And then the other girl said, "Well, I didn't have my father, and he wasn't around, so I guess." So in other words, in those women's lives, men really had no value.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, at that time, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that.
But let's remember, this is 1986 now.
Right. But you look at things like the deindustrialization of the black community, and the jobs that men used to do have been shipped out.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at that. That's I mean, a lot of men were unemployed for that reason, or they had to go to the army just to get a job, and that type of thing.
But do you think that's why they didn't find any value because the men didn't work? I don't think that's what it was.
Well, I mean,
I think they just
had bad experiences with men. I mean, just think about it. If your father wasn't there in the home,
I got you,
and he was worthless, then if that's the first man you ever loved, I mean, that shapes your perspective.
No doubt, no doubt. But the thing is, and I get that. That's that. But the problem is the offspring from that. Now that video took place in 1986. So if we look 96, 2006, 2000, that was 35 years ago, right? So just say hypothetically those young ladies were 18. 18 plus 35 is 53. Those young ladies had kids, first of all, and some of those were daughters. And and now some of their daughters have daughters and children. So if that mentality was there then, what is the mentality in 2021? Because that's what we're dealing with in 2021. And that's what my son is dealing with. That's what your son is going to have to deal with. You're dealing with a generation of women now, watch this, who think they are the only prize in the relationship. Right. And because they think they are the prize, they've devalued the men in the relationship. See, my contention on this whole conversation is that neither the man or the woman is the prize. Right. The healthy relationship or the functional relationship or the fruitful relationship is the prize. It's two imperfect individuals that come together and make a perfect union.
I strongly agree.
Yeah. But unfortunately, so many people, for whatever reason, have taken on this attitude that they are the prize. You got sisters who think they're the prize because of whatever social achievements they've made. You got dudes that think they're the prize because they know that it's one man to every, 10, 15 women, whatever it is in the world. Right. So we have a warped mentality where there are two individuals who can't get together because there's this invisible barrier where it's a contest or a competition to see who should submit to who first.
Right. Yeah. Terrible construct. Terrible.
If I'm saying something wrong, correct me, please. I need to be corrected. I know I don't get it right.
And for me, like I said, like I understand, why those ladies may feel like they feel. It's hard for me to believe, and I'm not sure where that video came from because it didn't come from my community. Because when I was coming through, I was born in '77, so I had plenty of men to look to in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, in Pastoria, Sherrill, Arkansas. I had plenty of men to look to for examples. Of course, I had my granddad, my father, my uncles, but then I had deacons at the church. I had, businessmen in the community. And so, a lot of times in the inner cities, like up north in Chicago and those places, I mean, a lot of times, I think you mentioned on the show before, they did some kind of study about the women and what's the
Robert Taylor Homes.
Yeah, Robert Taylor Homes in Chicago, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically,
and that's what that looked like, that kind of community.
Right. So in those type of communities, yes, but down south, in Arkansas, and I mean, we had some real solid men to look to.
But the sad reality is, Jay, is that it's those mentalities and those types of individuals that are shaping the culture that's to come. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
Because if you got one person that thinks like that, you probably got thousands of people who think like that, and they're going to have children, right?
I'm sure.
And when they have children, those children going to go out and they're going to do their thing, and it's going to perpetuate a cycle. and every generation gets farther away from the central truth.
From the bar, exactly.
You feel me?
Exactly.
And that whole line of demarcation, or that whole litmus test that used to work, you ain't gonna have one no more.
Right.
Because it's gonna be what you call an anything goes society.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As long as you don't, we're already there with this whole cancel culture. Because if you don't agree with somebody, or if you say something negative about what they call negative, they call it judging. And
Right.
if you judge them and you're the wrong person, they'll get you canceled quick. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm gonna have to watch what I say eventually on this show. You know, but they'll cancel you quick, man.
Yeah, but man, like I said, we have to change our model of success. You know, in our communities, man, it's really hard when success is shown to you. You know, all day long on TV and
Symptoms of success.
yeah, symptoms of success.
Yeah.
They're shown to. We don't really know how these people got what they got.
Exactly. If it's really theirs.
If it's really there, exactly. We don't know anything.
They could be renting jewelry. They could be renting a car
It
for
can
the
be
video.
fake.
Yeah.
It can be fake. So,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of things we have to take in consideration. But the main thing is we have to get back to foundational principles. You know, a family and community and that type of thing.
Okay. I'm cutting you off this time.
Right.
But I paid the bill, so I'm going to cut this one off one time. Okay. Now I'm sorry paying you to come on the show. No, play. I'm joking. I'm joking. But listen, this is the question. This question is for those ladies right there. You can't answer for them because you're not there. But if you could, let's answer about them, not for them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do better if you don't know what better looks like?
Great question.
I mean, can y'all help me with that? If anybody's listening on Facebook, if anybody's listening on YouTube,
It's hard.
How do you do better if you don't know what better looks like? Because these young ladies, and they all look 16 to 18, they got lap babies and they pregnant right now. He asked them, because they're doing a teenage pregnancy study test, whatever it is, and he asked them, do you want to be married? They said no for various reasons. Only if it was 12 women in the room, only one raised their hand and said they wanted to be married.
Right.
That's dangerous, man.
It's dangerous. And
what happened? Because what do you do at that point? That changes the whole construction
The black
of our
family
community.
dies.
It's dead.
Dead. Exactly.
Because that was 35 years ago.
Right. And then let's fast forward to, you know, I read something else today. It was talking about how many.
I like the fact that you read.
Yeah. I was reading something today. It was talking about the differences in the divorce rates in you know, in black families or in American families in general.
Mm-hmm.
It talked about, you know, how often black women file for divorce in their situations. And so, you know, for me, I'm like, are men that bad or are women that impatient? You know what I mean?
But you know, society tells them now they don't have to take it.
They don't have to take it.
And if you don't,
Right.
and if you don't want to take it, leave. You
Exactly.
know, and that never, and that's why you got people married 2 and 3 and 4 times. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, you know, and that's I never will forget. And I'm telling my business a little bit now, but I did something worthy of my wife leaving me probably within the first 2 or 3 years of my marriage. Right?
Right.
I did it. And, you know, when I was caught red-handed, I did it, and she was ready to go. I promise you, she was. And her mama asked her a question, and this is what's missing now. These types of mamas. Her mama asked her, "Have you prayed about it?"
Right.
And my ex said, "No." She said, "Well, don't leave." You know what I'm saying? Now we got 17 more years added, you know, beyond that. You know,
Right.
but don't now. Anybody else, girl, if he ain't doing you right, leave.
Right.
Girl, you know, if you ain't happy, leave. But I'm from the era where happiness was based on happenings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And if happiness is based on happenings, then happenings have a way of changing, right?
Right.
Because just like things are bad right now, that don't mean they can't get better later on,
Right.
right? But we're taught we want instant gratification, and now they didn't have they weren't lured by suggestions that we were lured by. They didn't have reality TV, and you know, and back then we still had explicit labels on albums and records and all that kind of stuff, right? We couldn't even play certain things on the radio.
Right.
So imagine what they all have access to now with YouTube and shoot, the worst we got was your MTV Raps, and that didn't come around until almost 88, 89, somewhere around there, right?
Right. But man, we got to get back to. I mean, we have more information than we've ever had.
Is that good or bad?
It should be good,
But
because we should be doing better.
Should be.
Right. We should be doing better. For instance, men should be doing better. I mean, I understand, you know, I've seen some terrible situations. I've created terrible situations in my life with women, but you know, it gets to a point where we have to do better as men. Of course, we have to go to counseling. We have to do certain things. We have to read more. Same thing goes with women, man. We have to do better. And so for me, like, I don't care what your decision is or what the decision is that you want to make. We have to start evaluating, is it good for the overall picture of the overall health of the family?
You talking about as individuals or in relationships? In
relationships. Okay. We have to make, and then before you get into relationships, man, we got to start going to counseling individually.
Got to learn how to be married again.
And then we got to go as couples, you know, we have to go to counseling, man, because if she comes into a relationship thinking that she's the prize, and he comes into the relationship thinking whatever he thinks, I mean, somebody has to give at some point. Mm-hmm. I mean, if she wants everything to go her way, if she feels like he's supposed to bow down to her and worship her every move and that type of thing, something has to give. And for me, I don't think I've ever met a woman like that, or been in a relationship with a woman like that. Now, I know some women who act that way. However, I mean, for me,
well, Jay, and let me interject. You couldn't be in a relationship with nobody like that.
I know I couldn't. It wouldn't last 2 seconds at all.
So that wouldn't happen probably, and neither could I.
I mean, you have to lower yourself so far, man. Like, I just don't get, like, and it's not like I walk around. I try to be the servant in my relationships. Mm-hmm. I try to be the servant, but you know, some of the stories I hear from guys, and also girls, some of the things they go through, man, it's tough. Sad. It's sad, man. It's sad,
and it's because they have never had any good examples. And this is the question again. Phone number 678-638-6626. If you're watching on Facebook, you can watch on YouTube at DISCO100. You can watch us live in the studio. But the question is, how do you do better if you don't know what better looks like? You had Mr. Gene Edwards. You had, right, you know, some positive influences.
Clee Western Wise.
Yeah.
Other granddad.
I mean, everybody around, man. Mr. Wise. I mean, all these people, right, that went. Wise was on the grocery store?
No, he didn't. Oh, okay. He worked for the railroad for like 40 years.
Who's that man on the grocery store down from Jane Oliver on the corner? I forget. Mr. Whitey. I think his name. He used to go there and buy a whole bag full of cookies for like 25 cents.
Jungle Juice.
And Jungle Juice. I remember those days. But that's the problem, man. You got women like these young ladies that were in that video. And I'm going to post that video on my site later on today, on my page. But you got women like that in those videos that don't have any positive examples.
Right.
And if they're the examples for their daughters and sons, that's the offspring, right? And then they're the examples for their daughters and sons, because now she's a grandmama. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this whole ideology is perpetuated from generation to generation to generation to generation. And now we don't know what better looks like. Right. We don't even know what right looks like, because here it is. We functioned in dysfunction for so long that our normal has become new. Right. And our normal is now dysfunction.
Right, and then the next thing is just loving people through pain, man. We got to get to the point where we heal as a culture as well.
Yeah,
you know,
but you got to know you're sick.
Right.
If you don't know you're sick, you're not seeking healing.
Right.
I mean, like I said, the same people that you're talking about and I'm talking about who think that they're the prize, those are probably some of the ones that you would quantify as probably needing healing.
Right. I mean, and the thing is if you're in a relationship and you think the other person is beneath you or doesn't have the same type of value, I mean, it explains why the divorce rate is so high.
Exactly.
It explains why, because you're not gonna have. Listen, if I'm with somebody and I don't really see the value, and if I'm just with them for whatever reason, then I'm gonna be less patient, less understanding.
A lot of people are going into relationships looking for the first reason to leave.
Right.
Because they think they're the prize. Let me give you this. John Hagee, man, you know John Hagee, he's a preacher out of San Antonio, right? He's real conservative, but he used an analogy of what a good marriage is, right? He said making a good marriage, y'all listen to this. He says making a good marriage is like making mashed potatoes. He said you take two very different potatoes, and they're very individual in nature, right? But then you take those potatoes and you peel those potatoes, you get the eyes out of them, you take them and then you put them in some water, right? And then you put them on the stove. The stove heats it up. The heat represents the trials of life, right?
Right.
And the more the heat gets on the potato, that more that potato starts to transform. And once that potato gets soft enough, you put it in a bowl with the other potato, right? And then you start to beat those potatoes, beat them, and eventually those two separate potatoes that were individual, you can't tell the difference between them no more because they've become one. That's what marriage should become.
Right.
You bring in your skin, you bring in your peeling, you bring in the eyes, but you expect life circumstances, whatever they are, to provide the necessary heat for me to transform. You need to go into a marriage expecting to transform.
Right.
Because Paul said what? He said the two become one. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore the man leaves his mother and father's house and cleaves. That means he connects. That means now the two have become one. Two individual unions,
right.
I mean, two individuals make one perfect union, right? And it might not be perfect, but we're striving, as somebody taught me earlier today that was speaking to my spirit, we're striving towards perfection. We want to become mature in our relationships, but because we come in because we come in immature
right.
and never grow up, then we stay stuck in a state of stagnation and we always leave seeking satisfaction somewhere else.
Right.
But that comes in with that mentality that I'm the prize.
Right. I mean, I agree.
This ain't nothing to argue about. We'll find some one day to argue. We'll
right.
find something to debate
and
about.
So for me, like, I just think, man, it's very sad to watch, though, you know, especially when you understand how valuable, you know, the black family is to black culture, and what is the legacy what's the legacy we're leaving for the generation behind us, man? You know what I'm saying? So that disturbs me. Those are the type of things that keeps me up at night, man. And then you raise your children a certain way, and then for your children to go out in the world and you feel like, man, will they have that same experience that we've had in our family for years, for generations of building family and that type of thing? Sometimes I worry about that, man, for my children. Will they did I set them up to fail? In this world.
And
I taught them. Yeah.
I get that. And I'm sorry. I want to challenge you with something that I was challenged with earlier today and see what you think about it. We were talking about my friend Jimmy Hinton. He's my co-host on my Monday night show, and we were talking about infidelity, and he said one thing. He said that's going to help the black community is even though women cheat as much as men, statistically,
yeah.
Let me say this: even though women cheat as much as men, statistically, we as men, as the leaders, still need to stop cheating,
right?
Because we have perpetuated a behavior pattern over the years that has become kind of cool and somewhat acceptable in our culture by the men, not necessarily by the women, because but and let me finish this part of it. And he even went as far to say that he believes that men cheat out of a form of fear. Do you agree with that?
Nah. So I mean,
and Jimmy, you might have to call in and explain that one if I didn't say it right. He said you cannot be the rise of you. Okay. You might have to explain that whole piece about men cheating out of fear. But go ahead.
Right. So I think it happens for a few different reasons, man. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times women think, men may cheat because, they're just stroking their own ego. A lot of times I don't think it's that. A lot of times, man, men come in a situation with low confidence.
And that's what he's saying.
Right. They come in a situation with low confidence, man. Okay. And so just think about it. Just think about it, man. You have, and I can only use my situation as an example. I come from a generation of men who were strong. I don't know everything about, my grandparents and all that. My dad, I don't know a lot about the situations, but they were strong men. They held the family down, and you have that model. And that's what you think that model should be. Mm-hmm. You get in a situation where it's not that, and you get to the new career woman. And what you value as a man, right?
Okay, I see that.
You're not able to provide that because you're not allowed to, right?
Well, allowed.
Right. You're not allowed to because I said, like the new age woman, she has education. You know, she's gonna go work and she's gonna work hard. She's getting the bag too, right? She has a lot of pride in getting the bag. So
You got to answer the phone, Jay. You closer to it than I am. Hit that button on the disco left. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to answer the phone. Oh, there you go, disco. Here we go. Here comes
yeah. So
Hey, caller. Thank you for calling the Intellectual Stew.
Okay, Pastor, how you doing? This is Jimmy Henry.
What's going on, Mr. Henry?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I need you to explain that whole fear of being faithful to one woman to the listening audience. I want them to hear what you explained to me this morning. Jay, we'll be right back.
Okay. Am I clear to speak now?
You are. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I appreciate you for allowing me to be a part of your podcast. It's a blessing, man, and I hope to be a part of it in the future because it's very necessary for actually us as men to come together to get an understanding on why we're doing what we're doing, and as far as being as infidelity. And so the Holy Spirit ministered to me, and He gave me 1 John 4:18.
Yes, sir.
Which says, there is no fear in love.
No fear in love.
And there's no fear in love. And what that's saying is fear doesn't exist in God's love.
Okay.
Okay? Then it says perfected love casts out fear. That word perfected is mature. Okay? So that means to be developed in God's love is the key, to be mature, because then it goes along and says, he who is not mature, that means you're immature, is not perfected in God's love for fear, because fear brings torment. And so a lot of men have a fear to be faithful to one woman for fear of torment. We can't be honest. I can't tell the one I love that I can't stop cheating because I feel I'll be tormented by her.
I got
and
you.
it says, then it goes on to say, he who is perfected in God's love or mature or developed in God's love has no fear. So a lot of times we as men, we have a fear to be faithful to one woman out of I'm missing something. We've been taught that it's okay to have a lot of women, to be unfaithful. That's what makes us a man according to the world standard.
Uh-huh.
But if we look at it, fear is associated with not being mature.
Wow.
Because it talks about to be developed in God's love. And what that means, see, Galatians 5:6 says faith works by love. My faith can only work by the knowledge that God loves me.
Yes, sir.
When I know God loves me, I'm empowered to be faithful.
Yes, sir. That's good.
See?
That's good. That's good.
You
That's
see what I'm
good.
saying? Because and watch this. 2 Corinthians 5:14 says, it talks about how the love of God constrains me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's God's love, which is the dunamis empowerment
Teach, John. Teach,
that'll
Jimmy.
constrain me from cheating. It controls my desire because watch this. My will, the love of God has to take over our will. Man is a spirit. He possesses a soul, which is our will, and we live in a body.
Yeah.
So once God's love takes over, the word of God is the will of God, and the will of God is the word of God. So once the word gets in, our will, our core belief, that's where our soul is.
Yes, sir.
Okay? That controls, watch this, that controls my desire, which controls my behavior, my emotion. So once my will gets subjected to God's love, I'm empowered to discipline my flesh,
Yes,
because
sir.
that controls my emotions, which determine my actions.
I got you. Listen, we're gonna continue that conversation on Monday night. Let me get you off right now because everybody can't hear you like I
Okay,
need
I
them to hear you.
appreciate you. Thank you.
Monday night we're gonna we did a live on Monday night. Thank you, Jimmy. You can hang up. We did a live on Monday night and we had a very good reaction and we had some conversations. But do you hear what he's saying about
Right.
about yeah
Yeah, I
and
mean,
that fear is a reaction.
I agree with all that, but that takes a process to get to that point.
Oh, no doubt.
It takes a real process. However, in the meantime, you know, I don't think we understand, you know, the importance of in the relationships, building each other up in the relationships.
No doubt.
Right.
No doubt.
And so, you know, a lot of men suffer from burnout, right? They suffer from burnout. They don't feel valuable enough to, you know, if your only thing in a relationship is, or your only value in a relationship is to go to work and come make sure you bring some money home, that type of thing. And so, I mean, like I said, I come from breadwinners, man. So when you have moments in your life where you're not the breadwinner, it can be tough on you if that's what your motto is. And I'm saying is we have to change what the motto is. And men are more than breadwinners.
There you go.
Right.
That's good.
We're more than protectors.
That's good.
I mean, we're a lot of, we can be a lot of things. And so with this culture, man, we're in the midst of a cultural shift, man. And like I said, the women are getting the bag too. So now men can't just look at, I make the money now.
And the men aren't the same.
No.
Let me.
The men nowadays desire something totally different.
Bruh, let me tell you, a homegirl of mine called me from Dallas. Disco, you can listen to this too. Homegirl called me from Dallas, I think it was Saturday. And she was troubled. She said, I need to talk to you. And I said, I'm at work, I'll call you back. So I called her back later on that day. Pop yourself in, Disco, if you don't mind, for a few minutes. Maybe you'll feel a little better. We can have a little conversation. But she's in Dallas, right? And Katrina's smart. Katrina's a very wise young lady. But she got the spirit of grandmama. I love that spirit of grandmama piece, bro. But Trina called me and she said, listen, James, I was at the gas station today. And she said, and it was this little young black girl coming in. She was on the phone, wasn't really paying attention. But when she came in, she accidentally cut off this white dude. So when she cut him off, she didn't even see him. She went to the gas pump, got out, starts pumping her gas. While she's pumping her gas, white dude walks past her, spits some tobacco at her. She still didn't see it. She walks on inside. Little young black dude pulls up with a red and white Kappa hat on. He ain't paying attention. He's pumping gas. Car full of young brothers pull up, Crips, all got blue on. See the dude in the red hat. They mugging him. Dude in the red and white hat see the dudes in the Crip mugging him, so he mugged them back. But this white dude that disrespected this black girl by spitting tobacco. He walks in the store, white dude. He sees the Crip boys coming in beside him, closes the door because he don't want to come in because he's looking at them like they got dirt on them too, right? He ain't got no respect for them whatsoever, right? So he goes in, pays for his stuff. The Crip dudes get their stuff. They come back out. White dude comes back out again, spits tobacco at the black girl again. This time she sees and says, what are you doing? And then he said, you cut me off. You need to learn how to drive, and called her out her name. Well, Kappa kid ain't seen nothing. Crip boy ain't seen nothing. Oh, the black dude sees and said, hey, MF, what do you think you're doing? He jumps in and intervenes but prior to that, and if he had not have been there, this young black girl was being attacked, right? She's being attacked, and it's two groups of Negroes that are too busy mugging each other and being oblivious to everything that's around. Disco, I'm gonna ask you because I already know how you feel about it. What you gonna do if you see a white dude go up and spit tobacco at a young black girl?
Well, personally, you got to intervene. That's street code.
Yeah. I mean, it's time to go night.
I mean,
it's time to go night.
I tell people all day long, if you see the generation ain't the same no more.
No, but both sides want to claim the role of being the prize. How can he be a prize and he's sitting here oblivious to Jay? What would you have done?
Man, look.
Tell me what you would have done. Then tell me what your granddaddy did.
Man, I'd have been all over, dude, man. Listen, man. I'm just from a culture where we protect women.
Yeah.
Both of my granddads protected women. My uncles, my dad. I've seen my dad many times protect women that he had no association with. You know, that's just what I'm from, and so I've been taught that that's what manhood is.
That's what manhood. Tell him about the time that your granddad.
Well, I can't tell you that on air, but
no.
But I can't tell you that. But I will tell you this: I've been with my granddads and my dad and my uncles in many situations, and you see whether it's a woman being disrespected or a young child, but. Yeah, intervene because men are supposed to protect.
We're supposed to
protect the weak. We're supposed to protect the women, and that's what we're supposed to do.
But it should be an innate quality,
right?
That should mean at that point, bro, instincts should take over.
Well, not if you ain't been taught.
I said should.
Yeah, not if you ain't been raised that way.
Now I keep word should.
Not if you ain't been raised that way.
Man, we were down at Atlantic Station one night, and we had gone out to dinner. And my daughter Kennedy, she wasn't in college then. She was still in high school. She was walking ahead of us, walking fast because she knew where the car was. And she's just walking fast. She was about to walk in the street, and there were some cars that were speeding through the parking lot, and one of them was like almost close to her. And all of a sudden, I just yelled out, "Hey, slow down!" I mean, loud. There was a car full of people. Normally, at that point, what I'm gonna get from the people in the car? Flap, lip, whatever.
Right.
Bro, they didn't do nothing but slow down, looked over there at me, said, "We sorry," and drove off. Because it was authority in my voice. I know what that was. Right. You know what I'm saying? I know that at that point, they knew they had encountered a man at that particular point. And that's the problem, is that I think this society, these young ladies, so many of them have not really ever been exposed to real men. And because they've not been exposed to real men, when they recognize a man, they see him just as a male, and they'll talk to him any kind of way. They'll handle him any kind of way, and they think, honestly, sis, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Some of y'all act like that the man y'all are better than him.
They act like they stronger than us.
Man, please.
But so I get it all the time. So you know how I was taught to be chivalrous, right?
Yeah.
So I try to open the door, and I get a lot. Ladies be like, "Nah, I'm good. I can get my own door."
Yeah, they can get their own door.
I can get my own door. So at first, I used to be, "No, sister, come on, I got you." And I was still, but now I find myself sometimes just letting the door close, just letting it go sometimes, because I get tired of trying to fight to be chivalrous, and so so I can't just blame the young guys in that situation, because you got to understand the culture they've grown up in. If they grew up in a house where, I mean, they had a mom, she had masculine energy. And that type of thing.
She fought for him all the time.
She fought for him all the time. So he's not even self-aware enough to know he needs to be looking out. He's out there. You said they were Crips. They getting out trying to gangbang.
They trying to gangbang. They trying to fight another dude.
The Kappa wasn't even in the gang. He just that's his fraternity. Right?
He just got on a color.
Yeah, he got a different color on. But what I'm saying is
priorities.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't really always blame them, but it goes back to just having balance in the home, man. Like. Some things young men I see, they should know, they just don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for me, when I go out, I look out for ladies in general. If I'm walking, if I see a young lady walking by herself, I'm walking, but I'm
Didn't you catch somebody about to trying to abduct somebody a couple of years ago or something like that?
Yeah, down in Athens. And so, but what I'm saying is I'm always out trying to make sure I'm self-aware of what's going on. I'm conscious of what's going on around me. So if I'm at the mall, if I'm at a restaurant, if I see a young lady by herself, she's walking out by herself. If I'm sitting by the window of the restaurant, I find myself looking out, making sure she gets in her car, safely. And that's just what I do. But a lot of people aren't, or a lot of men, these new age guys, a lot of them don't think like that. So my son, he thinks like that because he's been raised. He grew up with me, and that's what I did all the time. And I taught him that's what his role is in society. So.
That right there is the value of having a father in your life, because fathers, even if they don't teach it directly, they teach certain things indirectly. You know what I'm saying? You teach some instincts you just pick up. You know what I'm saying, by being in the presence of a certain one. You know what I'm saying? I can go home now and people can look at me and say he looked like a Kirkland. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Or
You do look like a Kirkland.
Man, leave me alone. You look like an Everett. He'll say you look like a Kirkland. I mean, my grandmama used to say you got a temper just like them Kirklands. You know what I'm saying? It's just certain things that you have that are innate that your child or your male child picks up from you.
Man.
I heard a girl say something the other day. She called her son her seed.
What?
She called her son her seed. I said, huh? I didn't know women carried. I mean, I knew they carried a seed. But
I see what she's saying.
I know what she's saying, but she don't know what she's saying. That's the problem, because there's so much depth, and you know how much depth is in a seed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's and women don't carry seeds; they harbor seeds and help germinate and make a seed come forth.
Well, maybe she was looking at it from the perspective what they say in church. I've never seen the righteous forsake.
No, that wasn't what she was looking
No,
at. She said that's her seed. She said that's her seed. And women, sister, y'all ain't got no seeds. I'm be honest with you. Now you got one if we put one in you. You know what I'm saying? You gotta help bring that forth. But that's the mentality that has been trickled down through the generation. That's them girls in '86 talking about they don't want no man in their life. They said that, and now it went from and we talked about that because '86 that was the height of the welfare age.
Right, but then you gotta understand too, man. Like, you know, young black women in this country, man, they go through a lot, man, with sexual abuse and all types of stuff. They seen their parents or their mom abused, and you can't always just fault them just because a lot of those girls, man, just they're living life through pain, man. You know, they're making their decisions based on pain.
So we just accept how life is and just be cool with it?
No, we can't accept how life is.
Okay.
We need a community of people, and this is why this show is good, right? Because we need a community of people, whether it's through social media, whether it's through podcasts like this or wherever it is. We need people to give the real perspective or the genuine perspective of relationships. I know we're in a culture where no one wants to have roles assigned to them, but we need to get back to that.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because women cannot do everything men can do, and men cannot do everything women. There's something that we have as through just creation that we've downloaded that just can't be replaced. You know what I mean? We can't swap roles. I don't care what you think. There's some things women they just do better than men.
Oh, no doubt.
And we shouldn't be trying to do. And so the same thing with men. You know, some things that men do better than women that women shouldn't be trying just because you can. And then a lot of times in these single parent homes, just because you can raise a man, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that. I mean, you're doing a great job just because you're feeding him and clothing him. Yeah. You're just maintaining him.
And we love to highlight one success story, but for every success story, there's a horror story that's not being documented.
There are 100 horror stories.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, thousands of horror stories right. where kids are raising themselves. You know what I'm saying? Or kids, you made him the man of the house at 7 years old, and when he's 14 years old, he think he's running you and everything else right. going on at the house. And that's unfortunate. That's what my children are going to school with. You know what I'm saying? That's what your children right. are going to school with, and that's what that dysfunction has become the norm in our society. And because that's the dysfunction that has taken place, then it has hindered functionality as far as what's coming forth. You know, in this next. I mean, we got some. I don't want to say dwarfed. But we definitely have some growth that has been stunted along the way.
Yeah, we got some scary times coming ahead. It's gonna be interesting to see, you know, in our generation, 30 years from now, what it looks like. It's gonna be very interesting to see. When you look at the responses of how we treat each other in society and how we view each other's roles in our lives. I'm talking about men and women. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be very interesting to see where this takes us 30 years from now.
Well, with how society is feminizing our boys through TV and through programming and all of those types of things. I think I must have been 14, 15 years old, maybe not, maybe a little bit old, maybe a little older. And we talked about every person that's in an authoritative position in a young boy's life. He goes to school. Most of his teachers are females. His principal, female. His right. mother, especially the single mother, female. Grandmother, female. I mean, now,
babysitter,
female. Everybody that's somewhat of an authoritative position in their life, and they see in leadership as female, and so therefore they have no male to look to or to look at, and because they don't, then it, in a sense, have you ever seen a little boy walking with his mama and he walked just like his mama, shaped like a
yeah, but I think that has something to do with
what's up wrong
a few different things. Well, no, I think that has to do with genetically. If you look up antrazine,
he used these SAT words, y'all, that I have no clue.
I mean, antrazine is a chemical they used to spray corn with. It's
okay.
Pesticide.
Okay.
So when they took antrazine in the lab and they put it on frogs, it turned the frogs. Well, this is another show, but it turned the frogs female, right? Right. So a lot of what we're facing, some of it is social conditioning, but a lot of it is chemical, and we're dealing with genetics, biological warfare, and that type of thing.
Wow. Yeah, that's a whole different show.
Yeah, that's a whole different show. But what I'm saying is, I mean, but you said something real heavy, man. Because when I was growing up, I remember I had Mr. Grant in the 5th grade as a male teacher. I had Mr. Lovelace, Mr. McNeil, and Terry Smith. I think I only had 4 teachers that were men my whole entire life. I'm just saying, coming through kindergarten through high school, all those years. I think I only had four teachers, but I had a few principals: Mr. Cone, Mr. Arnold, a few principals that were men. But yeah, man, I mean, you don't have a lot of, and I really think, it's because of the pay a lot of times as well. A lot of times the pay isn't great, but I mean, you can't fault men for not going into education if the money isn't that good.
Exactly.
I mean, and they feel, I saw a post today where, a lot of women had a problem with men making 65 to 80 grand. I thought that was decent money. You know what I mean?
Because the society has put forth this thing now with all these cats driving Bentleys, and they don't even realize they renting some of those for the camera and all kind of stuff, but they're doing.
Especially in Atlanta, some of this stuff is fake. But
flossing, like, I don't know.
There's some cats getting money out here, though.
There's plenty of cats getting money, and they're getting it on a major scale. It's a major scale. So, a couple things that we got to do. We got to start. First of all, we got to stop worrying about who the prize is and just be yourself.
Right.
And I believe in order to be,
we all have value.
We all have value. And you got to recognize that value that's within yourself. And once you recognize that value, then you walk in that value. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get into a relationship, you add value to whoever you're with. You know what I'm saying? But you can't go into a relationship with a preconceived notion. You going in with your hands up, ready to box up front. Well, first time I see this, I'm gonna love. You're not going to the same person you left. And if the same person keep doing the same thing to you over and over and over again, right, and you've been in 5 relationships, honey, you the common denominator in that situation. Right. And if you're the common denominator in that situation, then you got to figure out what is it about me that attracts this type of man. And what you got to do is you got to go back to the drawing board, and you need to heal. You need to sit down somewhere until you get complete healing. And see, because healing is when you've forgiven someone to the point where it's no longer a hindrance to you. Right. If every time you're reminded of something that happened to you the last time you got hurt, you're not healed. You still been picking that scab, and you gotta fix it. You gotta fix it. And if you keep trying to go into relationships and you haven't been fixed or you haven't been healed, you end up bleeding on people who did nothing to you.
Right, because our relationships are a reflection of ourselves.
Oh yeah,
that's all it is.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy said last night. The people we entertain are a direct result of our emotional state. Correct. So whatever our emotional state, we attract emotionally what our emotions attack. I mean, we just we're connected to each other, and that's crazy. Because that's how you end up in these dysfunctional relationships. Let me tell you something. You raise your voice and me in a relationship, female. the first time you raise your voice at me, our relationship is probably over, especially if we're not in a relationship.
Well, for
We're
me,
probably
man,
done, Jack.
Well, for me, like, I don't mind. I'll talk it out with you. Try to make sense.
Well, you crazy.
I try to no, seriously. I try to
No,
make
I'm
sense.
talking about Anthony. Was something that Anthony said to me
Oh.
on this live.
Yeah,
On this-
I try to make sense.
No.
I'm very. I tolerate a lot, man. Just because I know
No.
I'm a handful.
When your birthday?
January 18th.
Yeah, no, bro.
So for me, man, like I know I'm a handful, so I'll tolerate a lot, man. I'm very forgiving. I mean, because if we're in a relationship, especially if it's a marriage, we're supposed to be in it forever, right?
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about not.
But if you're talking about dating,
Yeah. But honestly, I wouldn't have married you if you had done that already. So that would have been non-applicable.
But some things, marriage provides pressure, man. So
Yeah, man.
Some things you're not gonna even see until you get
Bro,
married.
I ain't gonna lie. I was married for 20 years. Me and my wife might have had two good ones. You know what I'm saying? Anthony McCreary just said something about when I was down in Valdosta working, and we went to a little wing place to go get some wings, right? And it was and I wanted this peach punch, and so I'm trying to get this peach punch, right? And I tried to get it, and it was empty. So I said, "Hey, this is out. Do y'all have any more?" And she said, "Is it any more in there?" I bit my lip and I said, "Sweetie,
that's growth, man.
if it had been more in here, I wouldn't have asked you." I said, "But I assumed common sense would have kicked in and you would have known that I was talking about something in the back." And then I thought about it because she wasn't but about 19, 20 years old. I'm like, wait a minute, this little child got smart. Man. I said, "But if you knew you were talking to a grown man, you would have watched the tone that you had. You don't understand. I'm almost 50 years old. I know I look good for my age." I said, "But you don't realize I'm almost 50 years old."
You just let it slide, man. Let it slide.
No. But everybody in the restaurant said, even the little girl next to us that worked there, she said, "See, you finally got what you want. You always running around having this smart mouth with these men, and you finally got what you wanted today." And everybody in the store was like, "Yeah, he's right. She need to learn how to talk to people." And I didn't raise my voice. I kept it in a smooth tone. And she know what she said to me? "I'm sorry, sir." She said, Do you want ranch or blue cheese?" She tried to change that subject so fast. But the point is, they hadn't been exposed to real men, and real men aren't gonna hurt you.
Nah.
And I didn't want to hurt her then, but I needed her to understand that you can't talk to everybody like that because everybody's not gonna take that.
Now, we'll get you together though. We ain't gonna hurt you.
No, I'm gonna get you together because the thing about it is I like to put alcohol on my razor blade. I'll cut you and heal you at the same time.
Right.
So if I'm gonna cut you, the alcohol gonna be putting some antiseptic on the pain at the same time, and that's the goal. And I think that's what real men do. My daddy would get us together the same way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you in the room when you ain't got no bitch, you remember when they had spade parties back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Boy, if you had a spade party, where were the kids at? In the other room with the door closed. If we wanted to go to the bathroom, we had to knock on the door to come out the room, and we didn't ask why. Because children stayed in children's places.
Right.
And we understood that. I'm still Mr. Kirkland to my son's friends.
Right.
I'm sure you're still coach to your son's friends or Mr. Edwards to your son's friends.
Correct.
You're not Jay.
No, definitely not.
And you're not Edwin. Because you have assumed the role of a man in those boys' lives.
Right.
And they're going to respect you as such. And that's what we have to do. We have to get some value. Man, at the end of the day, we're talking about who's the prize, but I really could care less who the prize is. All I want to do is I want to see two individuals that come together who both add value to a relationship and who complement, COMPLEMENT. I know she needs compliments with an I, but I'm looking at two individuals who come together and who complement one another and make each other better.
I'm into value. So guess what? If you're in a relationship with me, I don't care if it's business partnership, whatever it is. If you have value, we're going to look at what you have. I'm going to look at what I have. We're going to make it work. At the end of the day, it's about winning. We got to get to the point in our culture that we want to win. And, and my uncle, my granddad's brother, Uncle Jasper, he used to tell me all the time, anything that's broken is unstable. Yeah. So anything broken is unstable. So I carried that for my whole life. So I try to keep things together rather than looking.
That's what men are fixers.
To break things apart.
Real men are fixers. They work with they're fixers. Even if they can't work with their hands, they can work with their minds. But they try their best to put pieces back together again. At least pieces that have been broken. Hey, listen, that we've come to the conclusion of our show tonight. I thank everyone who listened in. Jay, Thank you for stopping by
Yes, sir.
and hanging out with us again to kind of answer this question and have a little dialogue about this particular subject. Listen, go to our website, www.intellectualstew.com, or go to our our YouTube channel. That's the Intellectual Stew with James Kirkland, and watch the replay if you're watching it live right now. But remember this, as we conclude tonight, as we prepare to get out of here, remember this. This is the question that I like to always leave us with. The world is changing. Why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and we look forward to talking to you all again. I see you all on Monday night.
Peace.
Peace.